It's Women on Wednesday on The Dana Barrett Show.
So let's say you're at work, minding your own business, maybe talking to a colleague, and a guy decides to, open his pants and get his stuff out and wave it around at you. That's what you call sexual harassment, my friends. What would you expect to happen to that guy if that was you and you made a complaint to your superiors at work, to your supervisor? Well, I'd expect him to be fired at the least, if not have charges filed. That's pretty bad. Well, this actually happened to Mary Davis while she was working at the Georgia World Congress Center here in Atlanta. And guess what happened to the guy? Nothing. Nothing at all. Well, Mary's lawyer is joining us right now to talk about it. Our good friend Charles Jernasian and my former neighbor. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you, Dana.
You know what? I'm glad to have you here because I feel like, we were just talking about the whole Me Too movement, and it has gotten quieter, and people have sort of maybe gotten accustomed to hearing about these cases and maybe think, oh, it's all done. It's all taken care of now. And then here we are with a clear case where there's a witness. It's not just Mary alone. She's got a colleague with her when this happens. They both complain, and yet the Georgia World Congress Center does nothing about it. Why is this going on?
Well, to put it in context, in the Me Too movement, first of all, we exposed the culture environment of Uber, a lot of .com companies, and we saw how the culture really tolerated sexual harassment. It was a cultural thing.
Yeah.
As a Catholic, we've seen the exposition of the Catholic Church and how certain bishops have failed us. Thank God for the AJC, because the truth is the state of Georgia is not quick to catch on. We've just elected 2 leaders, our attorney general and a new governor, and I do hope they will do the right thing. But basically, it appears based on AJC investigation that what I've experienced, what Mary Davis has experienced, is the state officials do nothing. They don't really conduct a real investigation. So what they do is they deny, and they leave lawyers like me with having to fight an uphill battle. But ultimately, it comes down to this. Is there truth and honesty with state officials, or do they play the same game, delay and deception?
So, what should, and because here's, what I think always happens, right? You have these 2 women who experience this, and you have this man who allegedly did this deed. And there's not a video, I guess, right, of this incident, or is there?
I've been dying for the videotape evidence. I showed you the statement of Frank Poe, the director, and he says there was an investigation, but I've yet to see anybody say they did anything to try to find video surveillance. As we all know, World Congress Center has to have videotape.
Right.
The actual event happened, we believe it was March 22nd during the auto show at the World Congress Center.
Right.
Not one person, it seems, has said anything about what efforts were made to review the videotape. So that was the first failure.
So what should that investigation look like, Charles? Should they, it looks like from what you did show me that they spoke to the man who allegedly did this, and they spoke to Mary and the other woman who complained. And is that it? Is that an investigation?
No, it's not. And that's why I challenge Frank Poe to stand by his investigation. Put your job where your mouth is.
Yeah.
If he really believes there was an investigation,
then they'll see it.
Then I say, let's have a real investigation.
Yeah.
First off, my client was not even interviewed.
Yeah, okay. So they didn't talk
My
to her.
client gave a written statement.
Yeah.
And it took her everything to even give that statement.
Yeah.
There was HR who never fully interviewed her. And there was also state officials. Frank Poe also says state agencies supposedly investigated it, but they didn't even interview my client, Mary Davis, nor did they follow up with the other eyewitness, Margaret, who works, I shouldn't use her name, but the poor coworker who works at the World Congress Center.
Right. Well, we didn't say her last name,
yes.
So we're okay. So the statement coming from Georgia says this: while the GWCCA does not comment on pending litigation, the GWCCA does take claims of sexual harassment very seriously. Okay. Is there a lawsuit in play? Have you sued?
No, I'm the lawyer. I'm the only lawyer representing any woman in this case, and I haven't filed a suit.
So there is no pending litigation.
And let me just say, Dana, this is one of those situations we don't need to file a suit.
Right.
We do not need to waste judicial resources. there are many, many legal issues that can be litigated.
Right.
Ultimately, and your readers wouldn't, I mean, your viewers don't want to hear this, but it comes down to an or.
Right.
There's 3 instances when the employer, including the state, can be liable for an employee. One, they're negligent and, your typical sexual harassment.
Sure.
Secondly, they promote it and they have him do it. But third, ratification. And there's a conjunction or. And so, in other words, we can waste a lot of time and effort litigating for the Georgia Supreme Court to just say what 6 other Court of Appeals judges have already said. If the employer, like in this case, condones the behavior, they're liable for ratification. And if there was ever a case for ratification, it's this one. Because basically, as the AJC said, it was a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
Chris Joyner wisely reported on this, and he independently took a look at everything, and he concluded it looked like it was a foregone conclusion.
Yeah. So ultimately, what would you like to see happen? What would Mary like to see happen now?
Ultimately, there's 3 things we would like to see happen, and I'm happy to have Dana Barrett chime in on the first.
Okay, let's hear it.
What is the value of her case? I mean, you're a 65-year-old woman, hardworking.
Yeah.
She's a good lady. I believed her from the get-go. I looked her in the eyes. I'm a former prosecutor. I can size up human beings very quickly. She's honest, and to her credit, she's not greedy, and I'm not a greedy lawyer. So question for Dana Barrett and new guy Nick, what is reasonable to compensate a 65-year-old hardworking janitorial worker who has to witness this? And she keeps saying, I was disrespected.
Right.
If they had just said, we're sorry, this happened, and acknowledge her reality.
Right.
But, I mean, what's that worth?
Right. Yeah, that's hard to put a price on that.
Right.
I mean, I think, if that's true and that's how she feels, look, the right thing to do is to fire this guy and to put a policy in place that is better than what's there now so that when the next person reports, they don't find the same problem that Mary found. So for me, should there be a penalty? I mean, perhaps that's more about penalizing the state than it is about giving Mary a reward, right?
Right. And I'm a little bit, look, I'm outside the box lawyer. I think the people that should decide are the young women who come to the World Congress Center every March.
Interesting.
There's an annual volleyball tournament. I've spoken to a few of the mothers, and they're outraged.
Yeah.
Let them decide what should this fate be.
Right.
I'm more concerned with the second level. What are we saying to the world that comes to the World Congress Center? Can the women that come to the World Congress Center trust that if there is a perverted act, it will be taken seriously and we'll get to the truth?
Well, it's funny because it makes me think about the times, and there have been several for whatever reason, where I've gone to the Georgia World Congress Center and walked in the wrong door and sort of come into sort of an empty, cavernous place where there's nothing going on except maintenance workers around who I've then asked for assistance. And so now I'm starting to think, well, what if one of them was a creeper like this guy? And how is that handled? Well, obviously, he's been complained about and he's still allowed to work there. That's not okay.
And you have that question mark.
Right. Now I feel like, well, maybe I want to make sure I don't go there alone or go there at all. Right?
Exactly. Given the state's decision to do it this way, which is not the honest way,
right,
there will always be that question mark. And you deserve better. The citizens of the state of Georgia deserve better.
So ideally, some kind of settlement.
Yes.
What else? Would Mary like to see happen?
Well, obviously, what I was getting at is we need to have some assurance this won't happen and the visitors to the state of, to the World Congress Center. But the bigger issue is, what kind of state do we want to be?
Right.
And it's up to our new Attorney General. Does he want to preside over delay and deception for years to come? Does he want to play the same game? See, they know that few lawyers like me will push it as hard as I will do it because I'm not a greedy lawyer. They're banking on people not taking cases like this.
Sure. So here we are. We're just about out of time, but I guarantee you there are women listening who want to help, who care about this. What's the best thing to do? Call the Attorney General's office?
Yes. Write the Attorney General and say, do the right thing, okay. Chris Carr.
All right. Chris Carr.
Simple as that.
Do the
Chris
right
Carr,
thing.
do the right thing.
Come on, man. Charles, always great to see you. Thank you for taking this amazing case on and helping Mary. This is a terrible situation. You're right. She should not have found herself in that situation. Hopefully you'll get some good resolution. Charles Jernasian again, Mary Davis's lawyer. We'll keep you posted. Hopefully good things will happen.